just to connect a little bit about what we're going to do today. First, we're trying to do some connecting here with one another as we come from all over the world. And then we like to do some celebrating. We do a lot of celebrating in this sphere, whether it is a friction that we discover or whatever comes along our way. But today we'd like to celebrate the stories that we have found from these last cohort. And then we go into what we like to call understanding. That phase, we'll call it questions and curiosity. And after that, we'll go into a phase of what we call imagine. So imagine what could happen if we led with love instead of fear, and where we could take this concept and where we could apply it. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about what action could we actually take to get moving from here. Maybe if you'd like to share in the chat about where you are in the world, and share a little bit about what brought you here. We could do that in the plenum here if we can't go into breakout rooms. What's the status on that, Wyatt?
We cannot go into breakout rooms.
Okay. We have planned to go into breakout rooms one-on-one, 2 people in each room, to just connect with each other. So I wonder if some of you would like to share in this space here right now, what brought you here today? What was it that spoke to you for showing up here today?
I'm Rani from Australia, and I wanted to say that why I came into the space was about connection and community, and that's what drew me to the space and being of service. And what I'm learning so far is a lot about what is missing, what are the missing pieces that I could put together to move forward in my life. It's about being a little bit more complete in my life so that I can be of service to others.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Maybe I could ask Linda, would it be appropriate to ask you to share what speaks to you about coming here today?
I'm a little all over the place right now, just a little bit too much going on in my world. I'm just passionate about where this is going, where it's taking us. I last weekend went and did a tour with Eric Cutter. There's a possibility of opening up one of his farms in San Diego, what I call asphalt farms with the socks boxes, and maybe begin a wellness center that he's looking at doing in Montana and also in Australia. There was a gentleman from Australia, I think is not unusual that we have people from Australia on this group too. I just start to see it all connecting and all leading in the same direction. And I'm just super excited. You know, I get in fear at times about the future, and this grounds me back to something that I think I'm doing that might be moving things forward in a positive way, and helping our children and their children, and quality food and quality soil and all of those things. So I'm excited to be part of all of this too, and wherever it takes us.
I wonder if there's anybody else who might be new in this space who would like to share what called on you to show up.
I just came across this sort of an email link with this session today, and this is just this idea of gratitude and sort of the attitude with which we approach the work that we're doing has been something that I've been going to a lot of professional conferences and things this summer, and just struggling with this as I see the different aspects of things that people are focusing on, but it seems like everything seems to kind of be missing the heart of of the issue. And so I was just encouraged to see other folks kind of seeing what I'm seeing and wanting to do something about it.
So what you're longing for is more of those authentical connections. Is that a way to put it?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I sure hope that you're going to experience some of that here, or at least some stories of people who have gone through the process. But before we do that, I'll pass the word to Wyatt to tell us a little bit about how this came about, this whole thing.
Pat, that was a wonderful segue into why this program exists and what makes it so special, what value it really offers. I like to tell it from my firsthand experience, but we all have a firsthand experiences in this, and that's why we're attracted to this. Essentially, the story started with Adam 3 years ago, launching Onora, a company that he built to create carbon offsetting and carbon calculator businesses so that people could essentially mitigate their own carbon footprint by financially supporting businesses. And when he launched the product, he sent me the website. It was the pilot launch, and it was filled with the same angst, anguish, and fear that most of us experience when we first learn about what's going on with our food system, about what's going on with our energy sectors, how the planet's getting treated from our industrial practices. Not only could I sense the fear in the writing, but when I called at him, he was explaining to me how he's never been able to eat food at peace for the last year and a half. I just brought him the question that we're all working with embodying is, how can I lead with love? How can I support the same things I want to support while leading with love, not creating barriers against the fear, the thing I fear the most? And after sitting with it for a while, he pulled some blueberries out of the fridge and ate them at peace for the first time in a year, not thinking about the petroleum that went into the plastic case and all of the gas that it took to get them to his fridge. In fact, he said, if I'm leading with love, the first thing that comes to mind is that I want to be able to thank the farmer who grew these. I want to be able to thank the grocer who provided them for me. And I want to be able to thank you and my fiance here for sharing this meal with me while I eat it. It's his perspective completely shifted. You know, when you learn something, you want to teach it to everyone else, because when you feel healed, you can't help but share it. And so this whole program is sharing the experience of what it's like to bring into wholeness our food system, the things we have anguish with, by leading with love instead of compartmentalizing and leading with fear. And it's grown, it's attracted other people with that same experience, like Jonathan and Henrik, who started this food systems innovation project, and myself, who have rejoining again now 3 years later at this journey to help people share and tell the stories of connecting with gratitude. And one thing, Pat, I'll call you out again, is that's so refreshing about bringing the heart back into this is when you come with a sense of gratitude and kindness and friendliness and honest curiosity, not assumption of knowing, you can learn more. You genuinely get more authentic information out of people. So if you consider us a network of nodes on this planet of information exchange, being kind and friendly and not intimidating and forcing people into a defensive and knowing, but being humble, the bandwidth of the information exchange in that network opens up immensely. So we are here to open up that genuine information, to come to someone you want to celebrate, come with someone you don't agree with, you want to teach or learn more, and you just say, I don't know, but I'm here to be friendly and learn from you. And we've got a bunch of stories from this last cohort, wonderful stories that people who've gone through this cohort are about to share. Am I right, Henrik? Is it time for us to maybe get into some story sharing?
Yeah, just before we do, I might ask people that if you want to, during this time where we share the stories, in the chat, you have the option of putting a plus. If it's something that you really like, just without commenting, you can let us know along as far as we go, something you really like. Or you can put a question mark just to let us know, oh, that's something we might need to pick up on later. Or you could put a minus if there's something you absolutely don't like. And before we head out with the stories, as soon as we finish, we'll go around and ask people to share their stories. When we finish, we'll enter the space of the questions and curiosity, where you will have a question or a comment or anything you'd like to share. You can ask the people who are sharing their stories, or you could ask us about the project. Any question or curiosity that you have in that space, please share it once we finish with the different stories. And there might also be an opportunity for those who registered last time as an advisor to, after the questions and the curiosity section, we'll go into the question about where to go from here. Where's the potential in this project? So we'll take some thoughts on that a little later. But Wyatt is going to organize the different stories.
Thanks, Henrik. I'm actually just going to call you guys out, put you on the spot. I'd love it. Cassie, do you feel ready to share your story first?
Sure, let's do it.
Awesome. You've got about 5 minutes to share your wonderful gratitude-based learning story.
So I'm Cassie. I came to this project sort of being fascinated by the idea of looking at systematic change through almost, I guess, celebration rather than criticism, because I've seen how has not worked in a lot of situations in the past. And so I'm a college student. I'm going into my sophomore year over at Reed College. So I chose to have my curiosity conversation with the college caterers. And I had previously, like, the first year for food was a bit rough for me because I try to eat really clean and they didn't have as many healthy options as I would have liked. And I'd sort of talked to them a bit over the school year and be like, hey, like, you know, and it hadn't led to a lot of productive or like great conversations. But after hearing about this project, I was like, let's try this and see how it goes. And so I ended up reaching out at first to the head chef, and then I didn't get a response for like a week, and I was totally freaking out. And then I got on our week 3 call and I was like, guys, what do I do? Oh my God. And everyone suggested that I email the PR person or someone else on the team. And so I sent an email to every single person on their contact page that I could find. I ended up talking to the manager the next day, and we had a really great conversation about everything from, like, we talked about pretty much everything related to food. It was like cattle and the relationship with cattle and soil health. We talked about local food sustainability and like just so many things. We both love butter. There's a really funny story. Our head chef is a vegetarian, but he's required to taste the meat before it goes out to the students. And so he chews it up and spits it out. Like, just random, really funny stories about basically how all that functions. And it was a really good experience, I think, I'm hoping for the manager as well, because one of the things that I really learned was being very upfront and like acknowledging the weirdness or the awkwardness in the conversation really helps it go away. Because when I first reached out to him, he's like, oh, like, can you send me your questions? Like, what's going on? Then I'll have answers for you, blah, blah, blah. And I had to send back an email of, I don't have any particular questions, but here's maybe some topics. I remember hopping on call and I think he was quite confused. He's like, so what is this project exactly? And so I ended up basically just saying, I was like, yeah, it's really weird. I was confused too at first. And that really helped both of us, I think, sort of relax and just ended up having an organic conversation. And it ended up being really, really valuable. And I got to learn a lot about their behind the scenes and sort of the difficulties that they have in doing what they do, because it's a really hard business, I think, to day to day and also to make ends meet. So it was a really valuable conversation. And huge thanks to Henrik for all the support and all that. And shout out to the Tuesday group.
Somebody who's working in a cafeteria in a high school or a college, how often do you think people approaches them to say thank you?
Not very often at all. And that was the funny part too. When I had it, he was like, oh, okay, so do you want to start asking me questions? And I was like, no, first I'm going to tell you stories of things I'm appreciative of. And he was like his eyes sort of went like, what? It was really funny. And then I ended up talking about genuine appreciations I had was how the dining hall is a very like communal and central place on campus that first year. Like, that was where a lot of friendships were built. A lot of people met. And I could tell, and it was really cool to see him sort of softening as I was talking about that. And that's, I think, one of the other big things I learned out of the project too, is like when you have those really genuine appreciations, like people respond to that. Like if you're like sort of like fabricating things to sort of like be appreciated, like then, you know, people aren't going to respond. But when it can be a genuine thing, like it's a really good way to connect.
What a great thesis to that story. You know, be genuine, surprise them with appreciation. You said to me when you wrote that he was on edge. Like what is could you prepare me with your list of questions? You're like, well, I don't really have that. I'm not coming to attack you like you think I might be. Thank you so much for sharing, Cassie. I think next, I'd like to check in with Ronnie. Ronnie, if you're still up for sharing your story.
My story has changed so many times listening to all of you. I'm like, wow. Yeah, my story was that I noticed that my conversations have been always towards people I decide I want to have a conversation with. I judge them and I'm like, oh yeah, you look interesting. And so I'll have a conversation. And in this situation that happened, I was walking past and a neighbor was there and I knew I wanted to have a conversation with her. I hadn't met her before really. So I started talking. And when I started talking, because she was talking about really things and she was listening, I kept talking. And we were having a conversation for about half an hour. And when I came back home, I felt really uncomfortable. And I'm like, why do I feel uncomfortable? I had a great time talking. And I realized the conversation was all about me. And because I was in the space of curiosity conversations, which I totally bond with, I thought, well, I didn't really know anything about her other than what somebody else had told me about her. What I then realized that in my past, growing up, conversations were either all about drama or nothing. So there was nothing or drama. So when there's drama, yeah, I can do something, maybe pull back. But when there is conversations that I'm not flowing with, I have to be in control. I realized that I had to be in control of the conversation, so then I will know how it will go. So when it comes to curiosity conversations, I realize that I'm actually uncomfortable because I don't know what they're going to say, how they're going to react. Are they going to reject me? Well, there's so much uncertainty in that conversation. So the safe way is to be in control. And I just understanding that and realizing that has given me a freedom. And I realize now why I was uncomfortable after the conversation, because I was now wanting to follow this path of curiosity conversations. And I can, and I know that the odd time I've had, one of the things I think, Cassie, you said organic conversations. I love that. Having that organic conversation, they have happened for me, and I love it. But however, I go back into this control mechanism where I don't want to be rejected. So yeah, that's my story.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Ronnie. And you're right, that's different than the story we talked about just a week ago. And really, really, thank you. One thing I think that Ronnie is really emphasizing here, a lot of people feel friction when it comes to storytelling time because they're like, oh, I didn't have the conversation with the farmer or with the chef that I meant to. I actually feel a little stuck. And it's so relieving actually to just talk about that friction like we celebrate in this program. We celebrate friction because so many other people are like, wow, I felt stuck like that too. And then we can have an awareness to it and understand like, yeah, this is a growth edge. There's a reason that we're teaching and all learning together what curiosity conversations are, how to come with gratitude, really how to get more genuine, authentic connection. And if it's new, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's a little uncertain. So thank you so much for sharing that, Ronnie. Next, a little bit of a different rendition of this. We had just a very magical moment in one of our weekly calls on Thursday group. Henrik prompted Charles to share, you know, if he could share something at the end of the program, what would he like to say? And Charles just came out and said the most amazing thing. And we started asking afterwards, like, oh my gosh, how do you need to be supported in sharing that? And then we thought for just a few more seconds, like, wait, we recorded this meeting. We can just share that for you right now. And that can be your story. It's sometimes it's as easy as that. It's what you already said. And we just edited it up. And I'd like to share with you guys that video because there's more moments like that you can count on happening when you join this program, that it might be super easy. You don't have to spend your time writing if you're not a writer or doing art or photography. Just going to share with you the video that we cut out from there.
Could I ask you a question, Charlie? If you had to pass on something to other people for future cohorts, what is something you would like to tell them?
If I was to try to share anything with anybody, I would say, if you don't know how to be present, then find somebody that can help you to learn to be present. I guess because it's so simple, I couldn't see it. So maybe I'll finish it this way. I showed up, I couldn't hear. I showed up, I couldn't see. I showed up, I was so numb I couldn't feel. But because you people are open, you helped me to see, you helped me to hear, and you helped me to feel. And I found that it was safe to do that. I hope that as I continue the process, that I can be there for somebody else, that I can hold that space for them, so they feel safe to be authentic. That's enough.
How wonderful was that? You know, it's not always about the food system at all. You know, it's our own internal journey. And I think one thing Charlie has just shown us is that, you know, what is above is below. Really the healing starts from the inside. If we're battling with the world around us, we're battling with ourselves internally. When we go and we want to change the world and think it's them that don't know and us that have all the knowledge. It takes true humility. And this cohort and space is very safe. It's all based on gratitude and curiosity. And Charlie's holding space. He surely is for everyone to feel safe and comfortable. His whole story really reflects that. Charlie, do you have anything you want to follow that up with?
I'm afraid I might put my foot in my mouth after that. I'm just blown away how deep this process is taking me. I started watching this show on Netflix called Another Self, and it talks about people's ancestors and how those stories follow us around, and being able to be aware of those things and making peace with that. And I realize that I'm in that process right now. You need other people to do that type of work. And so when I couldn't get into this meeting today, I was getting a little anxious because I wanted to see my family. So I don't really need to go on about it. It's just, I feel safe here. And I know it's my privilege to clear away the wreckage of my past and to come and join. But most important is I discovered the word contempt. It's called one up or one down. Am I looking down my nose at somebody? That's what they call one up. Or am I looking down in contempt on myself? What I'm talking about is Charlie's self-esteem. It's kind of like an airplane. You know, you want that balance. So it's really helped me to visually, am I one up here when I think of somebody? Or am I one down? So I didn't realize that contempt was the word that described. How would you say? It's humbling to realize that I am a flawed human being, but it's also exciting to realize that I'm in that refiner's fire. I'm clearing away the wreckage of my past so that I can show up and hold that space for somebody that's desperately looking for that privilege. I called it in my little song, a pure intention seeking a home.
Thank you so much for sharing, Charlie.
So thank you for giving me a home.
You're so much welcome, and to continue in this process. This is the space where we hold for each other. It's happening within those small groups that we create, but also we support each other one-on-one to be able to go out and be our best and cause the most ripple effects possible. So thank you for joining, Charles, and staying in this program.
I want to say this guy up here, his name is Hendrik. He has a gift. He offered Charlie a gift. And so I would encourage anybody that's feeling stuck to check that out. I can't put it in words. It's extremely valuable gift. So thank you, Hendrik.
My pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Charlie, that was very, very raw, authentic, and healing for everybody. Just to acknowledge, there's some people who joined in the middle of this. We are in the storytelling. We are sharing and celebrating what people have learned in this cohort, and by being a part of this online community that brings gratitude and curiosity to the world and humility. I'd like to pass it on to Sam Barnes now to share her story in this cohort. This is her second cohort she's gone through. She's on fire.
Yes, that's me. I'm in a tiny home in Big Sur right now. So I'm really having a relief from I live in Riverside where it's quite hot. And so I'm sleeping in a human nest, and the fog was settling on me last night. And I was just like, oh, this is so great. So anyway, I am the reverse of on fire in a good way. So I came into this not even knowing what this was, like most of us, right? And it's just, and then I came back for a second round of, I don't know what this is, but this is cool. And Charlie was with me in the first group, and it's just such a pleasure to see his face every time. And it is a family. And I was just telling the person whose house this is earlier what this was, and he's all about permaculture and gardening, and he just, you know, the surprised look on his face when I said we're coming at it from a place of love and healing the food system and not bludgeoning people, but just being curious. And he just thought, wow, that's how refreshing is that? So I find that I'm having these conversations everywhere I go. when I go get my hair done, I have a 45-minute, conversation with that person who's, oh yeah, I mean, and it's just, you find little threads of, I used to have a garden. And then, I just kind of work in what I learned on my latest curiosity conversation, which was supposed to be about finding a local source of meat. And that's not where it went at all. Well, that's not where my most interesting conversation went. And so I was looking for chicken meat, and I ended up at this place that sells eggs in Riverside, and it ends up like she's got 70,000 birds. So it was like a major poultry production situation. And so when I first went, I just kind of go by the seat of my pants and hope for the best. And so the owner wasn't there. So I talked to the person running the farm, the roadside stand, and got some basic information. But she told me the owner was on vacation and would be back next week. And the next day I thought, oh, I forgot to even ask if the eggs are organic. And I assumed they weren't because there was no sign, and that seems like a big sale. Anyway, so I call back, and the woman who owns the place answers the phone from Hawaii. And so she just said, oh no, I mean, so she said, no, it's not organic, gives me a little background, and says, but I'll be home on Monday, so call me. And so gave me her personal cell number, and I'm like, okay, so that was cool. So she, but I made sure to put the, these are curiosity. We're trying to celebrate what people around us do. And so I think that's what got me her personal cell number, because she just appreciated that I was not, oh, your eggs aren't organic. Well, click, So when I connected with her, she told me her story, and it was just so, like her and her husband took this wild turn. They were building straw bale houses, a construction business, and then just decided, let's do chicken farming. They'd never done it before. And, but she went into it saying, I will do this, but I refuse to, the birds, when they're done laying, usually farming practices to gas the birds, and she told her husband, I will do this with you, but I will not allow that to happen. So she has her little island of misfits who are done laying. And so she's just feeding them, and they're just draining money wise, but she just wants these birds to be okay. And she just really loves what she's doing. And she loves these animals. And her eggs are always fresh because she can't get enough of them because she's got a new batch of layers. And so, I mean, I know those eggs are fresh. I know what she feeds them, and I know how she cares for these birds. And that means more to me than going to a grocery store and buying something that says organic on it when I don't even know how long they've been in the store. So I went looking for meat, and I came to a whole new understanding of egg production, which I had no idea. And so I'm going to go meet with her in person next week when I get back, and she's going to let me look around. She doesn't usually give tours. So anyway, so that story will continue. And I'm just so thankful that she, was willing to share with me. She's got a really cool Instagram, really fun way of interacting with her people. And so it's just these different directions that things take you that I really appreciate. So that is my story for this go round.
Thank you, Sam. Perfect.
Sure.
Wonderful. I'm really glad that you're having curiosity conversations with your hairdresser and every single person that you meet. It's wonderful that you have so much more to learn. You can be so much more informed and honest when you're getting information from everybody instead of having to prove that you know what's best. It's one of the gifts of this course.
Right.
I'd like to invite Umbreen in for this will be our last story share from cohort members. Umbreen, are you available to share your story? Are you here?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It's really good to be the part of this meeting. I feel so grateful. Before I go into my story, let me tell you a bit of background of it. I was already very conscious of my food, just like Adam. I was very stressed what we were eating. I tried to source organic or the best from the supermarket. I was buying organic milk, but it was constant stress looking at the food which wasn't organic, or the kids, what they are eating. Like, they are kids, they want to eat chocolates, crackers or whatever, but it always put me in a stress mode. And I was the one who was always researching that how bad it is for you and for your kids. And I was trying to do the best for them, buying, the best. But not everything that we buy is organic or from the best food sources. So I was looking more onto the food which is not organic or according to the standards what I had in my mind. So when I saw that Farmer's Footprint post by Henry, I was very curious to learn more. And I didn't know much about the project, but I just knew it's about, connecting something about food or something about farmers. So when we joined, I really liked the way, it's being shared, that how to lead the conversations with the love and gratitude. It totally changed my perspective. I can't explain that how it changed my perspective, not only towards food, but every conversation that I have, or the way I look on other events or the people or things. So now, instead focusing on what's not right, in especially around food or other stuff, I try to focus and feel gratitude that we have, that we are trying to, that we already have, and that many people don't have. Even if the food is not organic, still there is some nutrition in it. So just being stressed about it, I think it's kind of, we are sending the negative vibes to the food. And being in a constant stress, I'm not sure if we will be absorbing all those good nutrition from the even organic food. So that's the perspective I got from this project. And then this project led me to do a curiosity conversation with a biodynamic farmer. I was buying biodynamic milk from the butcher 5-6 years ago. Then sometime I'll buy organic milk from the supermarket, Coles or Woolworth here. I never understood the difference. I tried to read online. I just knew that biodynamic farm is doing something different, but I couldn't figure out the difference. What was it? Just by reading. So my conversation with the biodynamic farmer and visiting him was a totally eye-opening experience for me. I first time came to realize that there is a difference between organic farming or biodynamic farming. How the fertilizers not, good for the food, but it's how it's, make its way to the water, or how it's damaged the soil. Also, I came to know that, soil, what's the difference between a living soil and the normal soil, and how everything in nature has an ability to, support itself. Even the food, like, you don't have to do too much work. Like, every time you don't have to prepare the soil to grow. So with the biodynamic farmers, they just don't till it all the time. They just do it once, and then the soil, there is a whole world underneath the soil. There is bacteria, fungi, and everything is connected. And how they store nutrition in the humus, that's biodynamic method, and how the plant get the food from there. So it was a totally different experience for me to learn about the biodynamic or regenerative farming and the organic farming. And plus, at the same time, I found that the farmer, he was very open. He was willing to help. Like, I've got so much interested that I started thinking maybe if we could move off grid and have our own biodynamic farm, although I don't know how yet, but it's just kind of a dream. So just out of curiosity, I asked him, if I go and buy something like a land, and I want to grow biodynamic, but how much will your consultations will cost? And he said, it will be for free. And I was kind of shocked. Like, what? Is it for free? Like, first one free, second one free? He said, no, we can help you set up the whole thing. I said, wow. I'm living in Australia for last 18 years. Like, I think there are amazing people here, but most of the time I feel like everything is kind of money centered, especially around businesses. But with the regenerative farming, I felt they're more passionate about what they're doing, and they want to help other people to experience the same. What motivates them is not the money. What motivates them is their passion for what they're doing. So that was an amazing experience for me as well, just to connect with them and, helping each other, just because we want to be there for each other, not to, to exchange money but to exchange the experience, to exchange the joy of what we are doing. So that's a really mind-blowing experience for me. So this project helped me to in so many ways. First, it changed my perspective how to lead conversations with love and curiosity rather judging. Plus, looking in what's happening around me, including food, looking what's going right rather than focusing what's not being right and staying in a constant state of fear and stress. Now I'm feeling a bit more comfortable and try to feel much more gratitude. I was trying to experience gratitude before, but I never understood. Like, I try to feel appreciation, but I think the meaning of gratitude, I truly understand it now. How to lead conversation with love and gratitude. Previously, I was just trying to feel gratitude. Oh, I have this. Thank you so much for it. Like, you should have it too. Everybody should have it. So instead, trying to understand what the others are offering, what's good in them. I was like, if this method is the good, then everybody should be doing it. Like, so that's the change in perspective, the shift in perspective, the way we see things. It's totally amazing. I will say that it did change my life in a way, because now I'll be able to connect people more genuinely rather than telling them what's going right or what's going wrong. I'm more able to listen to what's happening in their life, what they are doing, what's good. So thank you so much also, Henrik. He's amazing. He also motivates me, how your whole team spending so much time and giving us this experience. It's definitely, there is a ripple effect. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing, Umbrin, your story. And like Adam likes to say, 90% of life is simply just showing up. So all of this is possible because you guys showed up. All right. So huge thank you to all of you who have participated. And imagine how much Umbrin has gained or grown in just 4 weeks. We meet online once a week, and then the rest is homework, practical work out in the field, so to say. But such an amazing progress just in 4 weeks. So I would like to right now challenge a few of you to comment on this thing. Samantha, Charles, you've been here before. What's the difference between doing this for just once, and if you do it twice, going through the process again, what's in that space, right? The first time everybody goes out and we are totally nervous and jumpy and having lots of friction, right? And let's say the second time we are able to relax a bit more. Now, I've challenged Charles specifically to, if you'd like to go for a third round, to actually go out and talk to somebody that we don't necessarily agree with or, appreciate or we're in favor of. Now we really put it to the test, this concept of leading with love, meeting somebody that you actually don't admire. Somebody spraying a lot of Roundup or whatever. Can you still hold this concept strong? That's a challenge that we like to give you if you like to stick around for another round. But what's in your spaces, Sam and Charles, if you'd like to comment on that, other people as well? And after that, we open up for questions and curiosity. And so please share your comments after that. Sam, would you like to start, or Charles?
Go for it, Sam.
Okay, I'll go. Doing it the second time was obviously much easier. I mean, I don't really have a problem talking to people, so this is just a reason there's more focus to my communications. I feel like it's just very valuable. I mean, it's just things are just very basic for me. In my life, what I'm doing is surrounded around food, feeding myself and figuring out how to grow food. And so the result from my first curiosity conversation, when I talked to a farmer, sounds very similar to Umbreen's story. A regenerative farmer in town, I just introduced myself to him, and I've been going back several times now. And he's offered me 2 rows to plant whatever I want at his farm. So if I do this the third time, I was asking Henrik and Adam, I mean, how can I tie this in? Because this is something I totally don't know how to do. He's obviously there to help. And it's the same thing, what would it cost me for the water? Nothing, I mean, you can just come help me, And so, I mean, just the genuine generosity has been just, so refreshing. And I talked to, in our one-on-one meeting at the end of this, these conversations themselves are regenerative. It doesn't have to be, I changed the world, but there's something regenerative just through the connection with you guys, the connection with the people that we're meeting. It's just become more profound for me. Did I answer the question? I feel like I just keep talking. Okay.
Thank you for sharing. And the thing is that if you go through the process again, news, it's like reading a book twice, you see something new, right? You focus on new details. If we keep challenging ourselves, we move beyond our comfort zone and we discover more friction, and we sit with that in the group, or we do something about it, and then we grow. That's the beauty of it. Charlie, would you like to share a few words?
As I look around and I see everybody's face and I hear you share, that really inspires me. I realize as I'm being challenged to go out into my community, it's a huge opportunity for me to become aware of what's holding me back here. And so I'm starting to understand what I'm craving is actually what they use the word intimacy, to have an intimate conversation, an honest conversation. I guess the other thing that I'm learning about Charlie's, there's the flight, running, or the other one is fix. And I've become aware that I'm a Mr. Fix-It. And that's not really helpful. When I approach somebody, they're not asking me to fix them. Like, how dare you? Who do you think you are, or whatever. So I'm learning through all of your examples that I come with an open heart. I set an intention. I want to really have an honest relationship. And then I realized in order to have that honest relationship, I need to first have that honest relationship with myself. I need to show up. If I'm being fearful or angry, then okay. But these challenges that I'm getting, the other day I got a phone call from my bishop at the church I belong to asking me to be an advisor for the young men. So I showed up in church on Sunday, and then I got to go to the class with the young men. And I was having so much fun. I just couldn't believe that I was getting this privilege. And I'm thinking, when I'm no longer on the earth, these younger people are going to have to deal with this. How am I going to be able to advise or encourage? Oh, get it, just show up and don't get attached to the outcome. So my process now, I realize when I get up in the morning, I go for a walk. I have my exercises, my breathing. I eat good food. I reach out to my friends and family. And so as I'm developing that intimacy within myself, now I have actually something to share with other people. And so you're challenging me. It's so important. If not, I'd probably just end up being a mushroom.
we,
Somewhere.
we will all sooner or later become mushrooms again. So thank you so much, Charles, for sharing.
There was one thing I wanted to mention that the lady was talking about on Netflix, Fantastic Fungi. You've probably never seen it. If you haven't, wow.
Thank you. Good sharing. Now the space is open for questions and curiosity. So if anybody would like to comment or ask a question, please unmute yourself. And
I feel really moved to say something. And Charlie, I don't know if you realize that you just exude love. Like you just exude love. It's amazing. I feel like I'm watching a documentary and I am so moved. I have chills up and down my body as you talk about your journey. And I've definitely been through my own, but just listening to you articulate it, it's so inspiring and it's very touching.
this happens so often that when we are in these spaces and we dare to be vulnerable and be present, and this is part of the journey as well. We learn so much beyond what we thought when we started, right? Thank you so much. Anybody else with a question or a comment?
I felt the same thing when Umbrium was talking. Her story was amazing.
Yes, Wyatt, I was, I'm drawn to this space because of the kindness which I first felt Henrique showed when on the first session, or the first time I talked to him. And then Wyatt, when I talked to you and we were talking about a story and I was saying all this stuff and I'm like, oh, he's listening to all this stuff, and but just the energy you both showed allowed me to keep going. I must say, I sort of felt, oh, there is a high bar that has been set, and can I reach it? But it was great to have everyone, to listen to everyone else speak, that we're all doing our own thing in our own way to move forward. And so from where I was, where I felt stuck, I feel like having other people, as Charles said, that it's a family and we all come with our own differences and similarities. Yeah, I think the kindness and gratitude that is shown in this is something that I feel is so valuable that I take away every time I come into the space.
It's so easy to say, right? The words are so easy, but putting it into practice, quite a different story, right? We mentioned a few times here this thing about stories. If we want to have a good experience ourselves and go out and be our own authentic selves when we meet others and have curiosity conversations with our hairdresser and who else we meet, that's a success in itself. But if we could actually share what we've learned in these processes that we've gone through, these experiences that we've had, and if we could share those stories with others, there's an opportunity to have more ripple effects. Our impact in the world could be so much bigger. Just imagine that the people that join for the next cohort would have a possibility to tap into all of your wisdom, all of your experiences, so that they feel that they are not the first one to feel awkward, or weird, or emotional, or procrastination, or whatever it is that we experience in this journey. This is why we try to create stories, and all of those beautiful stories we hope we can share in one way or another. I think we'll move on. Time is ticking. So if there are more questions or things you'd like to talk about when we finish this official part, the after party is on. So for those of you who like to hang around, I'll be happy to be in this space to clarify anything, but we'll have to move on a little bit now. The next part would be about imagine anybody who have been listening into these conversations and these stories, if you had to continue the line, wouldn't it be amazing if ... Could you just go for your wildest hopes and dreams? What would you wish would happen with this initiative in different spaces? If you'd like to share any thoughts or perspectives or comments, you are so welcome to share now.
I wish, if I could have one wish, that I could come to where you are at, or you could come here, and we could go into the garden and pick all the beautiful food that's there. We could prepare the food, and we could maybe have Wyatt play some guitar and sing for us. That we can just really get to know each other on a more... I'm just craving. The thing that really got me into this in the first place is when I met Dr. Bush. And he reached out and he hugged me and he held me. I was hooked right from that moment on. And if I had a wild dream, I wish I could just be in your space and get to know you, and that we could share food together, and maybe I might get a hug or two.
For sure. If we ever meet, I will for sure give you a long, big bear hug. And this is my hopes as well, that we could make this expand and grow so much that people could actually meet up in the local areas. Right now, we are having this online activities for offline action. But as we're starting out, one in Seattle and one in a different area and one in another country. So imagine if this was growing much more. And so we could have lots of people in Seattle and lots of people in Houston or wherever you are, and you could actually meet up in person.
That's my plan when you challenged me to do something locally. So that's what I plan on doing. It's just going to start with inviting a few people, come over, let's get together, let's have some food, a bit of music, let's dance. And then I can go on all day about how that could grow. And then maybe at some point, somebody from this group could come and visit. Or maybe you would do something similar in your area and you can invite me to come visit. That's what gets me excited about where this could really go. What am I saying? It's already going. Sorry.
Yeah, it's already happening. Yes, for sure. Umbreen, were you indicating?
Yeah, I think in my wildest dream I am having is everybody around, in my neighborhood is kind of growing some food, and most of the food is grown locally with love and then shared, because I feel like we lost the touch with how our food is being grown. But if everybody has a little bit of backyard, if everyone could grow something, and if we have small local farmers, so our food is locally sourced rather than from big companies, because it's not just the food, it's the connection to the food I feel is also important. So if everybody is growing something, fruits, vegetables, it's a joy and pleasure to share it with your neighborhood. And if there are farmers who are local farmers, we all could celebrate food rather than, worrying about nutrition and just worrying about the best that one can have. Could be more about sharing the joy of growing and sharing the joy of having and sharing the joy of giving and learning from each other experiences and enjoying the connections more locally. Because I do feel that people who grow food, they do have, their vibration affect the food as well. So this way we can share each other vibrations as well.
Thank you so much for sharing. We're getting to the end of the call officially. We started a little late, so I hope you'll forgive us that we take us a few more minutes. We'll have to skip to the next step, which is what's this actually like, the structure of it. Wyatt, would you take us through that?
Yeah, thank you guys for sticking around. We definitely want to hear more about the dreams and wishes for this program, because that's how it expands and those become realities. But for those of you who haven't been part of this program before, we'd like to let you know how this goes and what it's all about. It is about healing our food system with a new systems changed approach. So systems change is a concept, but this is systems change through gratitude and celebration. And that's the key, the gold and the value in this. and it's expansive into all aspects of your life, but we focus on the food system. How it works is it is a 4-week program in which we help you understand what we mean by gratitude-based learning, how to celebrate friction, how to come with that humble curiosity, you know, how to see in yourself. Really, it's the internal healing that the beginning of this course is about, the first 2 weeks. And you get excited about who you're feeling the most energy with, whether that be celebration or friction. And then as a group, we kind of just get to know each other, support each other in the process, because we all share this as a, you know, humanity. This is a shift in mind. And slowly through other services, I mean, Henrik offers Site K as a facilitator here. He can help you get in touch with your subconscious, and he offers that for free. Don't hesitate to use that. It's a huge perk of being in this program. But it's a 4-week-long program. We hope that you have a conversation by week 3 or 4 with someone new that helps you expand this ability of listening and exchanging more genuine information, helps you grow and them as well. And then there's also one-on-one support from me, where I help you kind of get the thesis and the narrative of your storytelling and what kind of format you'd like to share it in. I'm very excited for Cassie to post hers, particularly because she's a writing major, and she's already put out a big essay. Hasn't put it out yet, but has created a wonderful big essay. And she's going to create a hub optimized one. And Sam created a piece of art, a visual art using kaleidoscope art of the food. So we try to make it very creative. There's many ways to communicate what's going on. They say picture speaks 1,000 words. So we really ask you to join for these 4 weeks, to be humble and honest, sit with your friction, allow this group to help you grow. And then we do have another aspect of this, that this is now going to be our 4th cohort that you're joining. And as you can see, it's incredibly magic. So many people, you know, it expands way beyond your food system. It's really internal. It goes as deep inside as it does outside. We're hoping to create this and scale it and grow it. And at this point, all of us hosts, and Henrik, Adam, Jonathan, and I, we've been doing this for free for a long time. And we're hoping to create a sustainable system here. So we've actually, for the first time, embraced some of our own friction and put out a donation link for anyone who feels like they want to give financially to this program, so we can continue to host and find our consistent financial model to keep this thing sustainable. We do believe in the gift economy, and we're very happy to receive support. And we're not shy about asking where we need help. You know, we're very soon we're going to be needing marketing help, maybe even some videography help and other creative arts. And at this moment, we do need a bit of financial help. So Adam has sent out a link on that, and we'll be sure to remind all of you that at this point, some gifts that we are looking for is some financial support. And we also want you to share your stories of this program and talk to your friends. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had local groups everywhere? So one thing definitely you can give back is to embody this and share it with people, because as it grows, imagine, you know, I was just hearing Umbrine's story. It's still rippling in me of how wonderful it can be to shift into like not worrying about nutrition and what's lack, but like how connected we can become, how generous people are when you ask for help. You know, we all want to be in service. I think that is, this is just a bit the details of what it's like. And we can go over this more when you reach out or on week 1. If you'd like to sign up, we're going to send out the link for signups for everybody as well. It's about 75 minutes a week, plus a little bit of, you know, offline homework. We hope at the end you share your story in person and through some form of video, writing, art, song. Yeah, so that's the program overview here. If you guys have scheduled up your one-on-ones and you're able to give, that would all be so appreciated by us. I think we'd like to close before everyone leaves with one video about how to start a movement. All right, Henrik?
Yes. Before we do that, I would just like to put in the chat the link for registering. If you'd like to join this process, please just follow that link, or you can find it in the hub as well if you go to Mighty Network. And you can also find the donation link in the hub. And also, if you'd like to get in touch with me, put my email in the chat. Any questions or things you'd like to clarify about the whole thing, just reach out and we can connect one-on-one to clarify any questions you got. But thank you so much for showing up today. It has been a pleasure. But so we'd like to close off with a video about creating this these connections and creating a movement.
So ladies and gentlemen, at TED, we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course, you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not two nuts, 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So, notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So, over the next minute, you'll see all of the those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over-glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that at TED. Thanks.
I know we've seen that movie before maybe, but it's so beautiful, and it is so, there's so much wisdom in what's being shared here. So if you want to take that with you, that would be amazing. So this is the end of the official part. Thank you so much for being here, and if you're off to your busy lives, good luck with that. I hope to see you again. And otherwise, the word is just free.
We're a bag of mixed nuts.
Yeah, that's good. What would you like to talk about? What's in your spaces? What's your priority to focus on here?
I've got to go. I just wanted to say goodbye and not just leave a message. You guys, Wyatt and Henrik, you guys, I would have been sweating bullets. You guys pulled it off. So I'm so thankful for all of you, and your stories continue to just power me. You know, I mean, it just makes me want to share more, and it's just such a wonderful focus, and it's such a connecting focus. And I just encourage anybody who's thinking about joining, just do it, and don't worry, there are no bars to measure up to. It's just you're coming and you're learning about so much more than you'd ever imagine that you came here to do. So I thank you all, and I will see you all again somehow. I am certain of that.
Thank you so much.
I'm wondering if we can hear from some of the guests in here who haven't spoken today at all.
That would be wonderful, for sure.
Sandra, Sienna, Mark, Jonathan.
What's in your spaces when you were hearing the stories? Something that moved you?
It's Jonathan. I think when you asked the question about where do we see this going, what's exciting for me is like creating this as a movement that creates a space for people to do the inner work so that we can transform the world around us versus like trying to fix it, right? Like we create a whole new environment because we've done the inner work to actually know what we want, and then to do that as a community that's how this is all going to change things. I'd just like to see this spread throughout the globe. That's really what my dream is for this, that we just create as a catalyst the opportunity for each of us to create the spaces for us in our own communities to do the healing that we all need to do in order to find ourselves and to find what get in harmony with the earth, you know. So that's what's exciting about this for me, and hearing these stories and the experience of going out and having these conversations and all the inner dialogue that goes on, or the inner fear or whatever that is, and people working through that is exactly what's needed, because that's what stops us. You know, I've been in so many conversations with people dreaming about what they want from the future, but yet they're not able to take action because of they're stopped for all kinds of different reasons. We all have different reasons. So I think this is just a way for us to, rather than just going in and trying to fix everything, to actually do this first work so that we can actually then know within ourselves what wants to happen.
If I could ask maybe Sandra or Sienna or Mark to comment on, you know, hearing all of this, do you get the impression that this is all online talking, or this is all voodoo energy, something very fluffy? Or can you actually see this playing out through these stories? What's your impression from just listening in?
I gotta say, I'm super excited that I tuned into this. I tried to tune in earlier, but I couldn't get into the meeting, so I kind of only caught the second half of it. And this would have been my first meeting today, actually. I've kind of been spending the past 2 years super in-depthly learning about everything. I kind of started on the health and industrial agriculture side, and then I got really into through the work of Dr. Zach Bush. I'm just fascinated. I've listened to hours and hours and hours of him, and what I've just realized throughout my journey is that it's really consumer education and awareness that can really change the game. And so I kind of started on this journey of wanting to start a podcast and just something where people can come together and just talk and learn and exchange ideas. And I think what I've been lacking is community. I've gone into this rabbit hole of just learning what Umbrian said was it can get really easy to get caught up in all the negative things and what's lacking and what's wrong with the system, and then you forget to focus on what the solution is and how we can dig ourselves out of this mess. So it's really beautiful to see people coming together and supporting each other and just being there to help each other just spread the word and get this message out there. Because what I'm finding in my real life is I lose a faith in myself quickly, because a lot of the people that I know in my real life are oh, you know what, why even try? It's super messed up anyways, or oh, you're never going to change everybody. And I'm always hit with such negative things, and I'm I feel so alone. I feel so alone. So it's really cool to not feel so alone and to see so many like-minded individuals coming together. So I really like what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you're touching in on something very deep, something very, very, very important, I think, for most of us, because that sense of loneliness, or the task is too big, or you know, it's so important to get beyond that. And it does not matter if it is just the smallest thing that you can do in your place, wherever you are. Now you're on the right track. And if coming together, even though it's a virtual space, this is for offline action. We share here, we are one group, but the action, we take that locally. And we're not saying that the curiosity conversation needs to be one-on-one, face-to-face. It can be virtual, the conversation, but ideally we go out and meet people face-to-face. So I would really hope you would have the time to participate. There's so much goodness in this. Umbrian?
I would really like to add, Sienna, what you mentioned, that's exactly how I felt. But I think after going through this process, what I also learned is being kind and lead conversation with love and gratitude to myself as well. Rather thinking, I often felt that there is too much work to be done and how can I do it? Instead, focusing on this, celebrating or focusing on what can be done or what is being done, appreciating it myself. So the point is, most of the time we people are not appreciating what the little step we are already taking, or the little conversations we are already having. So I feel that leading conversation with love and gratitude also applies to me as well, being kind to myself, because most of the time we are very critical to ourselves, and we always push ourselves that this is what we are lacking. We need to do more. We need to do more. And that's kind of drain us and makes us feel hopeless. And I also believe that it's a great forum here to feel connected with the other people, where we can share and get inspiration, where we can feel safe to say whatever we want to say, and if other people, don't judge us. This way, I feel that each one of us who are participating in these conversations can be creating a ripple effect in the environment they are in. Maybe not straight away, but once we are feeling good, we are feeling gratitude, our consciousness or our vibrations is already creating a ripple effect in our environment without even doing anything. Feeling good, feeling strong, and feeling whatever good we are doing, itself is creating a ripple effect in our environment. So connecting with like-minded people is, again, it gives us strength. We get to learn from each other. So I once again feel too much gratitude for Henrik and all the team, Adam, whoever are doing it. And I'm amazed how much time you guys are spending. Like, I want to do it, but sometimes I feel, the commitment it takes. I feel like you guys are already there and you're doing it with all the work you because you also have families, you also have other works to do. But the dedication you are giving, sometimes when I feel I'm not there yet, previously I was feeling too low, but now I feel, okay, I'm not maybe there yet, but I will be there. So I'm already celebrating what I already got, even if I'm not able to do what they are doing. So I'm focusing more what, is going right, rather than, what I want to achieve is too high. Maybe sometime in future, you never know. It could be very short. In very short time period of time, I could be there. Even if it's long, doesn't matter.
Okay, Sandra, you put a question, a better understanding of the program. Okay, so if I could try to put it down to the very simple nuts and bolts here, we join a group. If you use the link that I put in a little bit earlier, or if you go to the Farmers Footprint community, you find the hubs and you can find the information there. There's quite some articles about it. Maybe Wyatt, if you could find the link to the hub and post it in the chat. So if you fill out the Google survey, or if you write an email to me, I'll get in touch with you. But basically, after we have an idea about how many people would like to join, we'll try to figure out who is where and time zones and all that. We'll put together small groups of 4 to 6 people. These group will join online once a week for 4 weeks. We meet for 75 minutes online once a week, where we go through this process of learning how to have these curiosity conversations. The first 2 weeks we go inward. We learn about this and what's the friction we have, or if there's anything in our spaces we need to clear to be able to go out and have that conversation, let's say with a farmer, or it could be with a restaurant, could be anybody who has something to do with food, right? And so the purpose is that in this 4 weeks, we go out and reach out to somebody and have that curiosity conversation. Now, the curiosity conversation is about not going out talking to somebody, bringing any agenda. We're not here to sell anything. We're not here to judge anybody. We're here to connect with another human being about what is in that space. If you reach out to a GMO farmer, what is the goodness that is in his space? What is it that he is trying to bring to the world? If we can manage to go out with that approach, it would be possible to create true, authentic connection. Once that is done, actually, it would then be possible to have communication flowing. So if we come and we have our agenda about what is right and wrong, and it's not working, right? And so from that experience, if we could create a story, we could post something within Farmers Footprint. We could post something on Instagram to let people know about what we learned. So other people in the future, when they join the program, they can tap into that wisdom that people have had from the previous experiences. If you have any other questions, please just unmute yourself and try to explain what your question is. But otherwise, just get in touch. I'll be happy to connect with you afterwards, one-on-one, to explain more in depth.
I was wondering if I could tell a story.
This is story space.
So I was going to tell you where I got the story from. It's from the Healing Collective Trauma, Thomas Hubly.
Yep.
So and I won't be able to think of the lady's name, but she spent most of her life, we'll say, as an activist trying to make a difference. And so she ended up at the United Nations later on in her journey, and she managed to get the people that make weapons into a room at the United Nations. And so during the meeting, after they have lunch, and one of the participants said to a person, like, there's something in that room, like, we've had meetings before, but there's something different in the room. And the person said, no, you see these people who are serving your food, it's actually in the room below you. They're down there meditating, holding space. That's what you're feeling. That just blew my mind. They're holding space. And these people that make and sell weapons felt that energy. Now, I've heard Dr. Bush talk about some people that we would think maybe, you know, there's younger people that are inheriting these companies. Some of them are starting to open their heart and their mind that maybe so this energy that we're learning to hold, that space that we're learning to hold is Jonas was saying, as we do our inner work and I learn to hold space, I believe now that, because it's happening for me, because you held space for me, that I'm so excited. Every day I think about this. I think about you people and what a privilege it is for me to learn how to do this. And I know, because I set that intention and I dropped the stone, the ripple is actually happening.
You are a living story, that's for sure. You're a living example of this, and I couldn't be more proud of you to have witnessed your progress in these two cohorts that you participated, Charles. And the thing is that you learned something that's the most vital of anything. Your progress has only been possible because you learned to reach out and ask for help, you know. And so if there's one lesson about any other that I would like to share with everybody, is that if we could just learn to reach out and ask for help, the world will change tomorrow. That's for sure. We have problems with whatever kinds, you know, nobody is perfect, but the sooner we learn to reach out, the sooner we'll get in the process of doing something about it. And so if nobody dared to reach out, we'll all stay the same. There'll be little progress. And so you dared, Charles. So huge applause for you, my friend. That's for sure. And you are an example to follow. So please take that with you. Anybody else got anything they would like to share or ask or comment?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for holding the space that we're all in today. It's great to be with you all. I was thinking this before you asked the question about whether this is real or not, and my thought and therefore response is that the thing that I really noticed about or sensed today was that people are doing their own work. That is, yeah, so gratifying and warming and inspiring to see. It's also another sort of consistent reminder to do my own work, because that's the only thing we really can do is our own work. So it's good to see that and be reminded of that. Like any conversation, there was so many things going on. It'd be so easy to pick up on many things, but maybe we've talked about this before, Henrik, the idea of, yeah, like an online community like this versus an in-person community. And I personally have so much reticence to online communities and strong preference for in-person ones, because my strong sense is that, yes, it's about doing our own work, but as soon as we can be doing our own work with others in the same places us, then we can start to build out and have things spread so that, in my case at least, an aspiration to live in relationship with all of nature with more people in the same place. It just becomes more and more viable over time as it pushes out that boundary and changes more things in that place and around it. So with that said, though, and so in the meantime, I think that this online community is providing a great scaffolding to potentially finding that. So that's awesome to sort of notice, and I think encouragement for me personally to participate in this project a little bit more. So
yeah, always a joy to connect with you, Mark. Hope to be able to do that even more in the future. But you're touching in on something really important here, because we want to see things happening in our worlds, right? We have this global world in our minds when we say world, but my little world is not so big, actually. So this is what we are challenging people to do, you know. I mean, Charles and Umbreen and everybody, I'm giving them that option that, you know, if they would like to join next one, how about just finding 4 or 5 friends? We just watched that movie about creating a movement. Somebody needs to go first. You did it already, right? Could you imagine that you could share your story locally and find maybe 4 or 5 people, create your own group? You can meet locally. And if you like me to help facilitate that group going along, yeah, I can connect. But you can meet in your dining room or wherever you have any space, you know. And maybe I can be the only one online, but you can actually meet physically, right? So that's one way of getting started. And if Umbreen has gone through the project maybe 2 or 3 times, she'll be able to facilitate a group, and I'm not needed anymore. She'll have enough experience. She has a gift to share as well. She's a psyche facility as well. So it's definitely possible. It's just because we need to get it beyond our thinking, our limiting, that where are those 4 or 5 people in my community? Well, they're probably not maybe so easy at the moment, but let's give it a go. Invite them to see the replay from this. Maybe they might be interested. If you could take them through and listening to these stories, they might be curious about what the hell this is all about. So give it a try. Share this replay with a few friends and see what happens. If there's any more in this space, I'll be happy to go on. Otherwise, we are at the top of the hour again. And
Can I tell you what my intention is for this week?
Please.
When I sang my little song, the first line is it's about time for hearts to rejoice. One of the gentlemen in the young men's group he plays piano. He's just incredible. He was selected to sing in the Vienna choir, but his parents decided not to send him there. And so when I saw him play, his mother's playing the violin, he's playing the piano, and I started to weep. It was so beautiful. And later on, the choir director told me, he's not reading any sheet music, he's just playing. The music is just coming through him. And so I'm going to ask these young men if they would help me. Would you come together and play music with me? Can we sing this song? Could you make an old man happy? And I'm pretty sure that
who can say no to that?
So my intention is, if I can get this to happen and I can record it and put it up on the hub, I can't get attached to the outcome, but I just feel something beautiful is going to come out of it.
Go for it. Go for it.
So thank you for challenging me, because I'm starting to dream. I watched this movie, and I won't go on about it, but when they got to the part where the devil had this person beat, and he was the Sandman, and he looked up and he said, dreams. And all of a sudden the devil was done. So we can all dream. And that really inspired me so much because I dream a lot. And I used to tell people I used to dream in black and white. Now I dream in color.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Dreaming is truly important, that's for sure.
so I feel like sometimes I need to apologize because I get so excited I can't shut up. So thank you.
You are sharing your vibes, and that's so beautiful. And I think everybody who is in the space can feel those vibes, and that's the thing, you know. When we do this inner work, we get some other vibes. There's another frequency, and we connect, and we have these ripple effects, and it's just beautiful. So I think that's a pretty note or beautiful note to stop this this time. And I really hope that we'll connect again and spread more love and be more curious and sit with any friction that's in our spaces and learn to be authentic and learn to be present. And that's the beauty. Thank you so much, everybody.